Welcome to the Consummate Athlete Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a well-rounded, happy, goal-crushing athlete. Every week, myself, sports journalist Molly Herford, and cycling coach and kinesiologist Peter Glassford interview experts and chat through all of your training questions. We're excited to have you along for the ride. Hello. Welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. Peter, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm excited. We have another great nutrition episode here.
Yes. Before we get into this episode, we do want to just start with a trigger warning. We are talking about weight loss in this episode. So if that is something that you just have no interest in hearing about, feel free to give it a skip. We do personally just find episodes like this really important because we do get a lot of questions about this stuff. So we feel like if we don't address it, people are finding crappier information out there elsewhere. So we would rather talk to experts and have this perspective of sport performance plus weight loss done in a healthy way.
That's right. And so we have Alex Larson back. This is the second episode with Alex Larson. And she is a great registered dietitian, and she talks a lot about weight loss. So she's one of our favorite RDs to talk to on this topic. Now, we do start talking about sort of like some more nitty gritty endurance fueling questions as well. So if weight loss isn't your thing, you could certainly listen to the beginning. But yeah, if you want to avoid that, feel free to take a skip. Now, Molly, I had a question for you because in this we do talk, we start the weight loss section talking about GLP-1s, which are this new sort of weight loss diabetes drug. Can you tell us a little bit? Because we didn't really intro it, and I just want to make sure that anyone who's listening isn't like wondering what it is or has heard of it, but not quite sure what we're talking about.
Absolutely. So GLP-1s, GIPs, that's your Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, a bunch of other ones. New ones are really hitting the market all the time. Basically, all of these drugs are peptides. At the moment, they come in injection form, but they are starting to shift to where they might be in tablet form sooner rather than later. And basically, they work by turning off certain signals. So it's kind of shutting down food noise. It's shutting down some of those hunger or signs of hunger, feelings of hunger, slowing digestion, and essentially, obviously, that all leads to weight loss. So it was originally introduced to help deal with type 2 diabetes to cut down on some of the side effects. It's been used primarily in people who have conditions that are, or health conditions that are related to obesity. However, it's rapidly shifting to where you are hearing more and more people thinking about it, even just to lose a small amount of weight. I will say I've now talked to so many experts about this. And
you had two articles just this last 2 months or so. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually with totally different slants on how GLP-1s and cyclists are kind of finding each other, I guess. It's a really, really interesting time with it because a lot of people sort of started thinking about it for losing kind of that like last, and I'm putting air quotes around this, like the last 5 to say 15 pounds that did not necessarily have good results. But on the flip side, there are cyclists who are back to riding after years of not being able to, or years of riding really uncomfortably, are finally able to lose weight and ride more comfortably. There's so many caveats around it, though, if you are planning on using one of these weight loss drugs while still riding. The fueling is so tricky. So
and Alex definitely talks about that.
Yeah. So that's what we really wanted to talk to her about. And I will say, I think the blanket advice is if you are contemplating using a GLP-1 and you want to continue riding your bike, talk to a registered dietitian who has some background in sport and GLP-1s and tell them that you're using a GLP-1 because it changes things.
Okay.
There we go.
Excellent. Now, and if people wanted to read your articles, do you recall? I guess
they're not out yet.
Oh, okay. But they'll be Canadian Cycling Magazine, or we can't even say?
Can't even say.
Okay, well, it's probably Canadian Cycling Magazine. I said that. Molly didn't say that. Okay, cool. Well, that's that. So I think this is a fantastic episode. We should maybe do a payable ad.
We should maybe do a payable ad. So as always, thank you so much to our wonderful sponsors over at Payable. So this is the only way to take payments within a Google form. And oh my gosh, does it make life easier.
Yeah, and it's something that our local club uses for membership, but it can also be something simple as we're going to do a jersey orders. We want to know, do you want a jersey? What size is it? Here's a picture of it. Can you give us some money? Boom. And then you get a nice spreadsheet. You can put in your order, but you also have all your money before you put in your order. So something like that, you insert the thing you would use a form for that you might want money, and it'll help you out. And so Payable is a great solution that really just lets you take payments in a Google form.
Yes, so much easier than dicking around with creating your own website or all of that, or having a form and then also having to chase your friends for Venmo or PayPal or e-transfers and all that kind of stuff. This just really simplifies things.
Excellent.
And takes about 10 minutes to set up. So payableapps.com/athlete for a few of our favorite templates and just easy ways to get started. And we'll include a link to that in the show notes. And all right, I think we should just get right into it. Enjoy our chat with Alex Larson. All right, Alex, welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. I'm so excited to have you. I feel like you're one of the dietitians we like talking to because you love a hot take and do not shy away from answering the tricky, nuanced questions. So
yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit of a black sheep in the dietetic world because I'm not afraid to go against, I don't know, the more common route of sports nutrition.
Well, and it feels like a very scary place. I imagine there has to be some stress involved with being like a pretty public-facing dietitian in the very black and white world that we seem to be living in these days.
Yes, 100%. I try and really keep it real on the internet. Like the other day, I was sharing my story about how a can of tomato sauce exploded across my room, and as I was cooking my Mexi rice, I was going, I'm getting flashbacks to my college professor talking about botulism. And so then I had this whole thing where I looked at the can and it was expired, it was 2022, Best Buy date. And I shared the story online. I was I had to throw away my Mexi rice, and someone was like, I'm so glad to know that it's not just me who has expired products in my pantry. I'm 100% just living a very real life over here with 3 kids in the woods of Minnesota.
This is a good reminder to check our expiration dates.
Yeah.
At my parents' house, I do have to admit, going through their pantry, I found something, I think it expired in 1992. I think we're doing a little better than that, but still should probably check on some of that.
Yeah, I'm always, unfortunately, every once in a while finding something. I'm whoops, this should have been used up a few years ago.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think what I like about your content too, and I said this the last time you're here, is that yes, there's the kids and whatever. I'm less into that, but it's you share sort of your training as well as the nutritional, great nutritional content as well. So I thought we'd check in. I think we talked to you last spring, probably a similar time. You were gearing up for the season. So tell us a bit. How did your gravel season go?
Yeah, it was exciting. I did, I think, 3 or 4 races. So it was an adventure. We'll just say that. I strength wise, I'm a pretty strong cyclist, but what I learned pretty quickly into the season is that I have to really work on my bike skills, especially on gravel, because I learned that gravel roads aren't just nice gravel. It can be anything. It can be this goat path that's or a snowmobile trail that's really rocky, and the terrain is a lot more diverse than what I originally thought. And so this year my plan is to build up my confidence and skill set on the bike with different terrain and get more comfortable on that. Also, I need to really work on, in terms of my nutrition, being able to take in fuel when my brain says I don't want to. That was something, in my, where, you're on paper, it's here's my nutrition plan. But then when you actually get out there and you've got adrenaline and your heart rate's 170 and you're just trying to hold on to your group, it's you don't really want to grab that gel in that moment. And so just kind of working through those types of things as just a real world athlete, I think has been interesting for me.
For sure, yeah. And I think that's maybe the positive of this ultra high carb thing that's been happening is now everyone's oh, I need to take in 100 or 120 grams of carbs per hour, which means they're probably actually finally taking in that like 30 to 60 grams.
If they're lucky, yeah. So that, and I mean, we have so many great products nowadays too that makes it a lot easier. I can put like a hydration pack with just a straw. So it's like if I'm on a little bit more technical terrain, I can still get in some carbs during those trickier sections of like a gravel race, or same thing, with like triathletes or runners. Like we have some higher carb gels that they can use that are easier to get in more carbs. So I think we have all the tools that we need. It's just a matter of like practicing it and implementing it. And that's kind of like part of my role in what I do, is helping athletes navigate not just the like knowing what to do, but also implementing it.
The actual doing of it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, right? And so even for myself as an athlete, I have to practice that.
Yeah, and I know for myself, like I've been riding now for say 25 years and at a pretty high level, like coming from mountain biking, and I know it's just so hard to be, today I did 90 minutes and I was actually thinking about this call and I'm like, well, I took one gel and it was 40 grams, but like I did a fair bit of work and I did, 2 by 20. It was a pretty vigorous session. I pushed a fair bit of power and I was like, so it's 40 grams, but for like 90 minutes. And I'm like, so that's not really like anything. It's like quite below what you might recommend, right? And I'm like, oh, this is just so much gel to take in. And then I don't know. So it's like anchored to, I don't know. There's a whole lot like psychological aspect to it, perhaps, but then it's tricky.
Yeah, I see so many athletes that go in with the mindset of like, what's the least amount of fuel I can get away with in this workout? And I'm like, I don't want you thinking like that. I want you to think of like, what do I really need to take in to get the most out of this workout? And that's a really hard shift to make when we've, lived this diet culture for decades. It's a much bigger shift for people. But once they start feeling better and they really see the gains that happen in their training, they're like they're like into it. They're like, yeah, give me all the carbs. Like let's fuel this.
Yeah, and I wonder too, like it's not that I don't think I'm necessarily doing it on purpose, and I see this with athletes as well, right? Like I think it's like, yeah, like now I'm taking gels. Like as Molly said, you're almost anchored to whatever 100 grams. So now I'm like, well, I'll actually take a gel during this workout. I previously probably wouldn't have even taken a gel. So now I'm doing great, but then I'm like, it's still only 40 grams over the course of maybe 90 minutes or something, right? So I don't know, it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a 90-minute workout like that, 40 grams seems adequate to get through the workout just fine. But that's also assuming that you are going into the workout like having had some pre-workout fuel.
Right.
That like for me, if I'm doing like VO2 max efforts, I'm usually for sure taking a gel somewhere earlier on between that first and second set, so that I've got some really fresh energy for that last one that I know is just going to be a beast to try and get through.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. So maybe we get into some of these questions. I think they're related, and I've sort of set it up here with the like we're all coming from this like history, or some of us are coming with this like 20 years or more of like different nutritional concepts.
Yeah.
So the one I see a lot, and I always pick on dates because it seems like the funniest one to me. But I only fuel with dates because it's really, this isn't actually me. This is the person asking the question to you. I only fuel with dates because they're affordable and they're natural. And I did the math, and I can certainly get 90 grams out of dates, I guess.
We should also point out we have to blame like the Thrive diet from
Sure.
Brendan Brazier
Yeah, we
from
don't have
like
to blame
the early aughts for this one, because he was the one that really popularized the like dates as the perfect like counterpoint to gels.
So in any case, do you see problems with someone fueling with only dates and that they're going to hit 90 grams an hour or whatever their target is?
The main problem I would see, especially for an athlete that maybe is working out for like 3-4+ hours, like the volume of dates that you have to consume consistently, that's a lot of fiber.
Hmm.
So I think I looked it up. It's like one medjool date is around like 1 to 2 grams of fiber per date. And so if you're over time, like it just adds up to a lot of fiber. And like there could be, especially for runners, like GI repercussions. And same thing with cyclists. Like that's just a lot on your gut to handle all of that fiber while you're exercising, that it could be a bit of a risk for GI distress. That's my biggest concern.
They're so close to prunes. I just don't know how you can argue that like you use prunes when you need your gut to be dropping everything out. So it seems very counterintuitive to me as a runner who has gut issues at the best of times.
Yeah, and a pelvic floor therapist once told me that motion is lotion, so you're already getting like gut transit increased time happening, and so then when you're adding in all of this fiber, like it could be a recipe for disaster. That's just my one
Okay.
main concern.
And then what I usually see is that the same 6 dates come along for multiple rides. So it's also like, yes, indeed, you have 90 grams an hour of dates with you, but I don't know if it's in you. It's not going into you.
Yeah, and like all of that fiber that takes time to break down and digest, so it could be kind of a slower source of energy. So I would maybe still include some dates, but I would also incorporate maybe some faster source of energy too, especially if you have maybe a big hill that you have to go up that's going to like really require a lot more energy. There's not going to be really any salt in those dates either, so you have to also consider electrolytes and hydration. So it's not that I'm against using dates for the whole thing, but I would just say, I'm kind of a fan of doing both some real food and some sports fuel products. I think those both can work really well. And for a race, carrying all of those dates with you during a race, like not the easiest thing to do, especially if you have to carry a large quantity of it.
Okay. So it might be something like you carry and maybe you have like one every hour for a little treat and something to chew on. And
I
then
think it's a great morale booster if it's something you really love consuming, but I also like to include some of those sports fuel products just for just simplicity purposes.
Cool. Okay, related one. I see this more with maybe the younger women, but not exclusively, but that's just the people that this has come from, is the baby food packages. They make different types. There's applesauce, there's sweet potato and blueberry, I think is the one I like if I ever have these. And they're like maybe 40 calories for like a pretty jumbo package. It's pretty big, but what do you think of these baby food packages as far as fuel and where might we go wrong with those?
I've heard of people using baby food, and I just think of the amount of baby food you'd have to carry on you to get enough fuel
Hmm.
would just be like you'd have to almost have like a stroller to carry all of your stuff
Like a
with
diaper
you.
bag.
You know what I mean? Like you'd have to have a backpack full of,
It's
and
as
it's
if
like
it was made for people with strollers.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to have like a sled behind you. Like I mean, it'd just be like the volume of like what you'd have to carry with you to get enough carbs, because it's not like they're adding a bunch of sugar to baby food, because
No,
it's for babies.
tiny people. Yeah.
It's for tiny people, not for runners. And so and also you have to think about the leftover packaging that you're going to have after you consume it. You're going to have to carry that too.
Mhm.
And so like logistically it just feels like not ideal in my mind.
And
And
price per gram, it's
baby
yeah,
food's expensive. Like what?
it's like $2 for 40 calories, sorry. So it's like not a lot, or it's a fair bit of money.
It's yeah, like it's just not enough. Like even like an applesauce pouch that my kids have for a snack is around 15 grams. I'd have to consume at least 4 or 5 of those an hour
Right.
for
And it's
like a 2 hour.
maybe so it's similar price to like the Carbs Plus gels, which I believe you use as well. And
Yeah, those are 50 grams of gel, and those are
50
like two.
grams.
Those are like $2 a gel. Like it's
Yeah.
a bargain.
Yeah, similar pricing though, but then I would say the baby food takes up probably 3 to 4 times as much space in your pocket.
Yes, yes. So again, I try and approach sports nutrition from a practical lens, and it's like, yeah, if you like the taste of baby food, like that's
Mhm.
great, but it's logistically not usually going
Yeah.
to set you up for success.
Okay, let's move on. I see. So a lot of these products we mentioned, Carbs Plus, they would have like a glucose source or maltodextrin, and then something with like a fructose in them. But some of I want to say older, and I don't know if that's completely fair, but there are other products that are only maltodextrin or only, I guess, glucose.
Mhm.
Uh, do you see any like where someone might want to explore other products if they were using one of these glucose or maltodextrin only products?
Yeah, I think for the glucose only products, those ones would work well for someone with like a fructose malabsorption issue. Maybe they have gout and like are really sensitive to fructose. Like there is certainly a couple unique cases with, I'd say like more masters athletes that they would need to go with a straight glucose product. But for the majority of athletes, I usually prefer them to have both some glucose and fructose because you're just going to increase your absorption rate. Glucose gets absorbed. Let's just say it travels by train, and there's only so much room on the train. So usually it's around 60 grams of carb per hour that we can digest and absorb in terms of glucose, whereas fructose gets absorbed through the liver and metabolized through the liver. And so that takes a bus. So you're having multiple sources of sugar getting metabolized at the same time, so you can increase your absorption rate and you get more fuel to your muscles and get more performance out of yourself. So that's typically why you see both glucose or dextrose with fructose, and it's usually either a 2-to-1 ratio of glucose to fructose or a 1 to 0.8. That's what we found in the research that's going to bring out the best performance. And we also want to support gut tolerance too. If you have too much glucose, it's going to sit in your gut for too long because it can only absorb so much, and that can ferment, and that's where people will experience like bloating, gas, GI issues happening in the gut when it's just straight glucose.
Okay, so then I guess the person who would say like maybe they don't care would be someone who was like just around that 50 grams an hour and seems like they're digesting it okay. There wouldn't be like a huge reason that they need to change if they're sort of happy where they are. Is that
Yeah, if they're doing, shorter workouts, easier efforts, and they're only doing, 30, 40, 50, 60 grams per hour, and they're just doing glucose and they're tolerating it fine, then I'd say, yeah, go for that. And the other thing too with like sports fuels, the most important thing is that you like the taste. If it doesn't taste good to you, then it's like, what's the point? Like, this is supposed to be enjoyable, us doing all of this endurance activity. And so make sure you're consuming something that you actually really like.
okay? Somewhat related on this one, but we'll call it a case study, but sort of a busy master's man athlete, comes from that old school of eating is cheating type thing, but definitely has like some sleep disruption, could be related or not. Often will note, forgot to eat today, hungry.
I've never understood that concept. I have never once in my life forgotten to eat.
Hungry by the end of the day, like really hungry in the workout, and then again these like recurring sort of like sleep issues. So I mean, I think it's obvious what they should do, but resistant maybe to doing it. Have you had any experience sort of like edging these, we'll call them old school people, into eating more, front loading the calories, that type of thing? Like, how would you start with someone like that?
Yeah, I've seen this athlete so many times. So common. And I get it, right? Like, we're very busy people and we're trying to fit as much stuff in our day as possible. And so sometimes eating a meal just doesn't really happen. But it really comes down to a matter of shifting priorities and kind of building in the like systems within your life to get a good eating pattern routine down. The first place I usually start with this type of athlete, and I'm like picturing a particular male cyclist that I worked with last year who would eat anywhere from like 1,200 to 1,800 calories in the evening, and hardly get anything during the day. And so we started with breakfast because breakfast is a really magical meal. It really can make a lot of good changes happen. For people that eat a lot in the evenings, a lot of times they'll wake up in the morning and they're just not hungry because their body's probably still digesting that 1,800 calories that they had the night before. So starting the morning with some sort of breakfast, especially that's one that's rich in protein. I might start with like 20, 25 grams of protein, but eventually work our way up to 30 to 40. There's something magical about it. It really helps jumpstart that metabolism. It helps regulate your appetite throughout the rest of the day. It helps energy levels throughout the day. If you're finding you kind of like have this mid-afternoon lull with energy where you're having to grab like some caffeine, I find that starting your day out with a kickstart and getting ahead of nutrition with a good breakfast is a great place to start. And what kind of magically happens when they have a really good breakfast is you feel really satisfied and great and focused and energized throughout the morning. And then all of a sudden around noon, you start to feel a little hungry. Like, that's what's kind of interesting about that. And I'm like, well, perfect. That's like lunchtime. Like, let's put in a nice lunch. Like, let's again get another dose of nutrition in for the day so that you can go into your evening with a reasonable hunger level, not like that starving, ravenous, like raccoon your pantry kind of situation. And you can have a reasonable dinner, and then you don't even really need much of an evening snack. And you can go into bedtime not with this really full stomach, and your body can actually like properly rest throughout the night. I notice significant improvements in sleep when people don't go into bedtime with like a full stomach, because your body's trying to sleep. And when it's having to digest all of that food and put in all of that work, it does kind of interfere with sweet sleep quality, is what I notice.
Hmm.
And I'll just add the other thing too is recovery from training is so much better because you've like supplied all of that nutrition through the day. So your body's in a less stressed position at night. And that also can improve sleep as well.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like not funny, but everything is interconnected. Like the sleep is going to improve the recovery, the fuel being there for the workout is going to improve the performance and the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's sort of getting ahead of it. So with this, you mentioned there was sort of an athlete there that you're thinking of. What was can you recall what the breakfast would have been? Like, how did you get these busy people to eat breakfast? Because usually it's not just like, hey, I don't want to eat breakfast to get skinny. It's like I'm running out the
Yeah.
door, and the person I'm thinking of is like giving, like they're a teacher and they're have to get to practice and they're giving to other people. It's not that they are, it's just that's not, as you say, the priority is different.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
their meal.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
how do you start them?
the I like to hit the easy button. Okay. So I will talk with them and talk about their morning routine, what they typically do. I can think of a particular mom. She's got two young kids. She works full time. Her husband works full time. And like, she's like, I'm never hungry in the morning. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just start with something really easy. And so we talked about things that she really enjoys. And she goes, you know what? I really do like those like 26-gram core powers, the strawberry banana. She goes, I really actually like that a lot. I'm like, oh, great. Do you think you could can like drink that and have it all down before 8 a.m. in the morning? She's like, yeah, I can do that. So we started like the first couple weeks just drinking that in the morning. And I'm like, perfect, like super easy. She really enjoyed it. And then I was like, what if we added like a piece of like sourdough bread toast and you put a little something, something on it, like just have a little toast with that strawberry banana core power. And she's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then we went to 2 slices of toast. And then we went to some blueberries and fresh fruit with it. And I'm like, oh
Nice.
my God, we have like a breakfast going on. But that like took us a while to progressively shift to that. Or some people where they might have like a little bit of a first breakfast when they first wake up, but then they'll have a little bit of like the second half of their breakfast on their commute to work, or like when they get to work they'll have a second little small second half of their breakfast. So we might break it up into like 2 3 little snacks throughout the morning to equate to like a full breakfast. So everyone's a little different in what their schedule is, but again, it comes down to let's be really intentional about implementing some changes, practice, see what's working, see what's not, and build up to getting that nutrition in that you need in the morning.
Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, I mean, sort of
Mm-hmm.
a personal solution, and yeah, it doesn't have to. We don't have to insist that it's 50 grams in this deluxe meal right off the bat. Yeah, the
Yeah,
core
well,
power is like a pre-made like
it's
protein
a
drink
it's
sort of
a
thing.
it's made by Fairlife, so it's similar to like the Fairlife milk.
Oh, the best.
They have the elite one that's like almost 40 grams of protein, but the regular one is like 26. They have a
Oh, okay.
vanilla, a chocolate, and a strawberry banana, and they're all really great. Um, they're like one of my favorites. And what's nice is they're shelf stable. Like obviously they taste best cold, but like for people traveling, it's nice to like if I ever like go to like gravel camp over in Oregon, I'll always pick up some of them because I can travel like 2 3 hours to camp, and then once I get there, I'll throw them in the fridge to
Sure.
keep them cool, and then have them like at in the mornings or the evenings at camp.
I love it. Okay. Do we want to go to weight loss stuff now?
I think that's the direction we're heading because you know what? These are questions that we get in a lot, and like frankly, it's a little scary to talk about
Yeah,
because everyone get this is a sensitive topic, right? But I think ignoring it, we sort of ignore it at our peril, right?
yeah, yeah. I think it's really important to talk about because we've kind of seen this shift to where I mean I love the whole self love, approach. I think that we've swung the pendulum a little too far, and that I almost see athletes downplay their interest to work on body composition, where they're almost embarrassed to tell me. And I'm like, no, I need you to be honest. Like, do you have some body composition goals? Like, do you want to get a little leaner? Do you want to lose a little bit of weight? And they're like, yeah, I really would love to lose like 5, 10 pounds, or sometimes it's 20 pounds. And I'm like, okay, your feelings are valid. But what's most important is that we approach this in a very healthy way that still supports you and your performance and your training and your health. And so we need to be really strategic about this and also maintain a really good positive relationship with food in your body. So yes, I'm willing to talk about it, but I also need people to understand that this is a very individualized approach when it comes to doing this in the right way.
100%. Yeah. And I think you're right. Like to pretend that, or like for someone to say that it's not a goal and then like kind of proceed where you're aiming for increased power and like better performance and stuff, but secretly in the background, they're still trying to lose that 5 or 10 pounds. I feel like that's where you get the like really negative, like potentially disastrous consequences, and you have no idea because
Yeah. So I always just like, I triple check with them. I'm like, are you sure you don't have body composition goals? They're like, well, it's not the top priority. I'm like, well, I just need to know if that's something we need to work on, because if it is, then we can approach it. We just need to adjust your nutrition accordingly. And there's definitely ways that we can go about doing that that don't negatively impact performance.
Mhm. So we're gonna start with like the scariest of the weight loss questions,
Oh,
just
good.
to
Good.
kick
Let's
it
get it
off.
out of the way.
Just get out of the way. GLP-1s, GIPs, all of these, the Ozempics, the Zepbound. I've done a couple of big articles on these recently, and it's funny. I got assigned the articles, and they both came at it from totally opposite directions. One was very much for cyclists who genuinely like have issues where they do need to lose weight, and like it's going to improve their cycling life if they lose. Like they're in the category that would be very much like you're the target audience for Ozempic, like the target user, however you want to say it. And the other side was the middle-aged men in Lycra that are starting to look at Ozempic as like, hey, maybe this is the way to lose that last 5 to 10 pounds and lighten up my, hit that quote unquote race weight. And it's funny because the articles went in such different directions because they're very different questions. But yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest question to start with for you is just how are you seeing the GLP-1s, the GIPs kind of coming into the endurance sport world?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it at all up until probably around a year ago. We've seen a few. So it's not super common, but I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit more common. And in talking with my team, so I have two other dietitians that work with me, and Mary on my team comes from a little bit more of a clinical background. And so we've kind of approached this like, okay, it's not that we're against it. I don't think of it as like, I mean, some people are like, oh, you're cheating because you're like losing weight with this. I'm like, I don't, honestly, if you're going to do it the right way, it's actually, I think, in my mind, more work to do it, because you have to be very cautious of health and muscle mass and body composition and strength, and like there's a lot of things that we need to do to make sure that we're doing this the right way. So I've kind of put a little like checklist in my mind of like, okay, if an athlete's going to go down this route, here is what I would recommend. Number one is, before going on it, making sure that you've worked with a sports dietitian and you have built a really nice foundation in your eating pattern, your routine, you're eating balanced meals and snacks, you're getting enough protein. Like we've set you up to have all of those good habits and practices in your lifestyle before you start the GLP-1. I would also recommend a DEXA scan before you start, and having repeat ones done every 3 months while you're on the GLP-1. I also think you'd want to be closely monitored by your doctor and working with the sports dietitian throughout that process. I would only take the GLP-1 during off season, not during your race season. Making sure, obviously, to prioritize protein throughout that, making sure that you're still eating enough to support your needs, and then having an exit plan, and making sure that you are having an exit plan to get off that and being able to maintain that weight loss. So that's kind of my checklist of going about using them. Not to say that people should, but obviously I respect people's choices of how they want to go about doing that. And that would be my recommendations.
Is the DEXA scan like I guess it would be body comp, but is it like around bone and stuff too? Is that what you're sort of like concerned about?
Yeah,
Or?
bone health, muscle mass, making sure that you're either maintaining muscle mass or not seeing like too much loss during that time that you're on the medication. That would be the main things that I would be looking at.
Okay, because I know, yeah, that's I just saw it today actually that there was like early stuff, I guess early-ish, around the possible bone loss, and then also there's been the muscle. Like if you don't also strength train and keep protein up, then
Yeah. Oh,
concerns
yeah.
around
That's the other thing on
muscle.
my checklist is strength training. Make sure that you're strength training throughout that process. Yeah, I think we've definitely seen in the research there's a correlation between muscle mass and bone density, and people that have a good amount of like lean muscle mass have stronger bones, and that makes sense that those two are correlated. And so you think of someone that's on a GLP-1, they're not weightlifting, they're not eating adequate protein and eating super great because obviously their appetite is so significantly suppressed, they're losing all this weight, they're losing a ton of muscle mass, there's going to be long-term implications with bone health, I would imagine, down the line. So again, if I find that if you're going to go down the GLP route and you want to do it really well, it's almost more work, in my mind,
Mhm.
in that time that you're on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that's, just we're just starting to see. Again, Molly had these or interviews or articles around sort of like for cycling publications, so we're seeing it. So it's interesting to hear where it's coming into your world as an RD as well.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Canada is just they're going to be the first ones to take it into what's that called when it's not like on brand? It's
Oh,
like the
generic.
generic. Yeah, so we're going to be the first ones to do that. So that'll reduce prices as well. So there's going to be changes in the industry that way as well. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
it's very curious to see how this goes.
What's wild to me is it seems like we are very much at the beginning of
Yes.
this, right? Like you add in all of the other peptides now, and now they're like compounding where it's like, oh, this one will preserve muscle mass, this one will do this, this one. So it's yeah, it's a brave new world is really the best way I can put it. And I mean that with the full allusion to the book and all of the implications of that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, well, let's go into some other sort of. We have three more case studies. We'll see how we can do here. And these are people that I see a lot. They are like actual sort of stories I've tried to like make a little anonymous. So we'll go at it. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have mid 50s, lifelong female triathlete, suddenly heavier by 5 to 10 pounds. This is someone who, has been training well, obviously 5 to 10 years, many Ironmans, long distance triathlon, minimal injuries over those years, but doing the same thing and then 5 to 10 pounds heavier. They would prefer not to be 5 to 10 pounds heavier, but they also are cognizant, they don't want to get injured. They don't want to lose the performance they have. So I guess any strategies that you would try with someone like this, again, all the caveats that you should work with an RD, and these aren't specific to any particular person, but where would you start with someone like that as far as like looking at their day and, how to sort of change that, if there is change to be made aside from just saying you're getting old.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's certainly metabolic shifts that happen as we age. We also tend to gradually lose a little bit of muscle mass as we age as well. So making sure that we're eating adequate protein. And I do find as we age, we don't absorb protein as efficiently. So increasing that protein intake just to make sure that we're supporting lean muscle mass is very important. So I would definitely look there. I'd also look at carbohydrate intake, both in the workout, making sure that you're fueling the training adequately enough. I see a lot of athletes just in general, and this is both men and women, that might not fuel the workout quite as well. And then they just go in this energy deficit the rest of the day that's really hard to come back out of. Like I find that recovery from a workout starts before the workout, where it's like, oh, we need to fuel the workout really well before and during, and then kickstart with some post-workout recovery to really support those stress hormones, getting that inflammation and stress down really quickly, kickstarting that recovery process. Because for triathletes, you guys sometimes are doing 2 days, you're back
You
to
should see
back
like
big
that's what this
workouts.
person does for sure.
Yeah, and so it's like we really got to hone in on supporting all of that training with carb intake throughout the day. in like just that day-to-day nutrition. Sometimes if we shift more of those carbs earlier on in your day when you're more active, do just a little bit less in the evening. It's not that we're cutting carbs, we're just kind of shifting where we're getting that. That also can be really helpful for body composition. And then just looking at overall consistency in the day to day. I think sometimes we'll see athletes that they'll underfuel one day and then they'll like maybe go out to eat for like a big thing, and then they'll have like way of a calorie surplus. And so if we can hone in on that consistency of day to day, that also can be really supportive of making those consistent body composition changes over time.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good advice. Sort of this idea that like maybe just we have to shift what's worked for the last 20 years as we get older. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then I think, good advice to like even just check in with an RD, because it might be something like meal ideas or looking at some of those changes that are going on that we might be able to adjust for. Okay. I like that. Let's sort of similar person, but let's go 10 years down the road from there. And now this person, well, not it's not the same person, but like potentially. So this is a 60 plus cyclist. We'll go a woman again. Lots of experience, lots of data. So previously FTP up, 180, 200 watts, and now it's down maybe 50 watts. I'm sure this didn't happen overnight, but maybe over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And so their concern is more around the power and getting the power back, which might be more of a coaching thing. But the interesting bit is
Peter.
that they've also lost 20 pounds. This one's actually sort of weird or like intricate, so I apologize for that. But they've also lost a bunch of weight in the last 2 years, which is sort of an oddity around. But we'll give that to you. So they're 60. They've lost a bunch of weight. They would like to push more power. Have you seen anything like this?
So hearing this story, I have questions. I would want to know, what was the route that went to seeing a 20-pound weight loss over those 5 years? Like, that's concerning to me. Like, was there some severe restriction going on? Like, I would assume,
an illness or
an illness. Yeah. Like that. I would want to know, like, what was the route that took to get 20 pounds down? Because just based on seeing that power significantly decrease so much, I would assume that there was quite a bit of muscle loss during that, which is concerning of how they went about losing that weight. To be perfectly honest. So I'm left with a lot of questions. Okay. But what I would probably do is look at how they're currently eating, compare it to what their needs are for their current training and body size and age, and then start looking for gaps. I'm going to assume that they're probably not eating enough in their day-to-day. And I would be focused on weight training incorporated in with their cycling, protein intake consistently throughout the day, fueling the workouts as best as possible, and trying to build up that strength over time. But it's going to take a little while. It's not going to happen over the course of a matter of weeks. It's going to be a months long journey to be building it up. But I would definitely want to look at that weight history and how they went about losing that.
The weight loss is an odd piece with that, because I think without that, I actually have seen that somewhere in the 60s there's like a bit of a drop off, and there's often a weight increase with that too. But we see, I used to keep up on the group rides and now I don't anymore.
Usually it's because they've seen like some weight gain over the years and now they're not keeping up with the group.
And it could be muscle too, but like not with the 20-pound loss. That it doesn't usually work like that. Okay. All right. But and do you ever see in either of these sort of populations, we're getting older, sometimes it's almost like we forget that, well, now we have grandkids or we've retired, so we've been away on beach vacations more often. And it's like, well, you used to do 5 days of cycling and 2 days of strength training in your 40s and 50s, and now life's good, but you've also stopped training as much. Like, do you see that very often where people are like,
I say the opposite. Once they retire, they're like, I got big goals now. Like, I can train all the time. They're like doing like 25-hour weeks. And like, that's what I see the most of the time. And that's why they're reaching out to me, because they're like, I need to dial in my nutrition because I want to like crush my age group and these big races they're doing. So that's typically what I see.
That's probably true for an RD. Yeah. Like the people that reach out to you are trying to fuel something usually.
When they said they're retired and it's a male cyclist, it's 100% they're like training like It's
All in. Yep.
they're all in. And
Okay, well, careful
so
what you
fun
ask
to do.
for. Our last case study,
I love it.
and we have a lot of these gentlemen, and we love them dearly.
They're
But
the
these
best. I think they're great.
men in general, because I don't know if that's true. But
That's iffy. And yeah.
so these
Well,
gentlemen,
the guys that I work with are really great. Like we
Oh,
love
okay.
our clients. They're awesome.
excellent. So these are men who are usually over 6 feet. They're usually pretty high performance people, but they are over 200 pounds, which is a round number. I realize this, but they are also over 6 feet usually. And so they weigh over 200 pounds, and they might be 220 pounds, they might be 210, but blanket, they want to get under 200 pounds, a nice round number of 200. And I don't know if a lot of times they've done any analysis or scans to see if there's tissue that could actually be lost to get there, but that's sort of the blanket goal. So
Yeah, I think if we searched your like inbox for like would like to get under 200 pounds, it would just be like
I've seen this a lot.
dozens.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
think of quite a few.
So
male
let's
cyclists I've
counsel
talked to.
someone that's like, what do you, how do you lead someone into this, and maybe even adjust that? Like perhaps there's a body comp goal, but 200 is an arbitrary number that you've chosen, and I get it, but how do you counsel someone like this?
Switch to kilograms.
Yes. So
Metric system, yeah.
So with our athletes, we do things a little bit differently in we kind of separate the calories that they're taking in their workouts from their baseline nutrition. And we started doing that a couple years ago. Mainly it started out where, we'd set like some targets in their journal. We use a food journal as part of our process so that we can really provide some individualized support to them because the way we know what they're eating and drinking. But like if they went on like a 4-hour ride on a Saturday or something and they'd log everything they took in for fuel during the workout, and then all of a sudden they're like 400% of their carb target for the day, they're like panicking. And we're like, no, it's fine. You did a 4-hour ride. So we actually have separated it. So anything they take right away before or during their workouts, we're not going to count that towards their day-to-day nutrition because we want to really focus on consistency there. And that's been a game changer because it really encourages the athletes to fuel the work well, because like to them, it's like a freebie. Right. And so that's where we get
this could go. Yeah.
So, I mean, as long like there's only been one athlete over the like I don't know how many 500-600 athletes we've worked with over the years like that that was overfueling, and that was just because they were making like a homemade bar to eat on the bike, and it was like really high in like oil and fats, and okay. They'd eat like one for it was like a 900 calorie like bar. Like it was so calorie dense, not carb dense, but calorie dense, that we were like, we got to shift this. And so they stopped doing that bar. And I think they ended up losing like 15-20 pounds over the time they worked with us. And they were just crushing it on the site. And they were a little bit older. I think they're in their 50s. So that was the one instance where I've seen an overfueled athlete. Otherwise, for the most part, we just fuel the workout accordingly based off of duration and intensity. They fuel it well. They don't have to worry about like, carbs, calories. We're like, no, we're just going to get the most out of this performance. And then in your meals and snacks outside of that, we are going to hone in on being at a little bit of a calorie deficit, but still focusing on timing of nutrition to support recovery and getting in balanced meals and snacks and working on that really nice like routine and getting them set up with those strategies and skills and tools to be able to do this on their own, like building that routine. So that's typically when we have those kind of athletes in that 210 to 20 pound range that are wanting to get under 200. It's okay, let's have a good protein rich breakfast, getting some carbs in with that breakfast, especially if it's post workout, getting in a good lunch, good dinner, not raiding the pantry in the evening mindlessly with snacks, like putting in all of those good habits to set them up to see that gradual weight loss. Because we want when athletes come to me, they say, I want to lose weight. What they mean is they want to lose that excess body fat and they want to keep the muscle and strength. And so we have to be really strategic and making sure that it's a slow and steady weight loss, because the quick, fast weight loss that's really rapid is you're going to see a lot of muscle breakdown for that. And we don't want that.
Okay. And is there a way, I guess, like, so we have a 220-pound person who's already maybe like lost a bit. Is there a point or a way or like where they wouldn't be getting to 200 pounds? Like you have to sort of shift the narrative. Like this is you being your most powerful, successful self. You're going to push the most amount of power. This is, loving your body or whatever we want to call this. Like you just aren't going to weigh 199 pounds.
Yeah, there's certainly people that just have a very stocky body type. Like they just are the type that puts on muscle really easily. They're just naturally a really like solid person. And so like we also have to play into like what's your genetics, your kind of family history of body types. I did have one athlete that was like 6'5", 6'6", and he was wanting to like,
or you're 6'5".
Yeah, and he wanted to like lose all this weight. And I'm like, do you know what your body fat percentage is? I know he was already really lean, like he was like 10-11% body fat. And I'm like, and I was like, yeah, you like, dude, you're lean, like you're just really tall. Like, unfortunately, you are not going to be, you know, a Vingegaard type of cyclist. Like, it's just
not in the cards. Could be very powerful.
But yeah, like play to your strengths, right? Like for me, I tend to be, I'm not super great in like the really long distance races, but if I have like a 27 to 30 mile race where I'm like, I can get it done in like an hour and a half. Like I can be up there with like the really strong, fast female cyclists. But like the 3-4 hour ones, I'm still kind of like struggling to build up that endurance power for me. So sometimes like right now, I'm like, I'm going to play in my strengths and do some of these fun, shorter races just to like keep my confidence up, but keep working on some of those longer, like more 50, 60 mile distance races.
Yeah, which is sometimes I view that as sometimes my role as a coach is to like help people find the fit, right? Like it's not, you know, it's not always that like you might really want to get better at that, which is fine. But there's also like, have you considered cyclocross or like, you know, these types of things where it's like, you seem like you'd be super powerful on flatter races, not you specifically, but like this person we're talking about. You know, or crits, right? Like it might be, oh yeah, like you could be the best crit racer ever. Like you have so much power. Like it's just like, so embracing that and sort of shifting the mindset a little bit. But
yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Okay, well, that was a lot of quick hits and random questions in some ways, but some case studies. I really like case studies, so I appreciate you going along with this today.
Well, and hopefully that gave everyone a sense of really like a bit of a taste for what it's like to work with you. So before we let you go, let everyone know where they can find you, follow you, and potentially work with you.
Yeah, my website is alexlarsonnutrition.com. I'm also on social at that same Alex Larson Nutrition. I have a podcast now, Endurance Eats. So I talk all about endurance nutrition. And I do have a this is my favorite project ever. I have a carb culture apparel line that is all like about loving carbs. And so I have like my sweatshirt on right now. So yeah, that's really fun too. So you can find that on my website. It's like one of my favorite things I've ever done.
I love it. I love it.
We'll link to it all, including the carb culture t-shirt or sweatshirts. And we appreciate your time today, Alex.
Yes, thank you so much. It's just so fun.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. If you want to hear more training, racing, and endurance sport advice, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at consummateathlete.com for a weekly dose of inspiration and advice straight to your inbox.